Hey guys, in today's video we're going to be looking at the 75-gallon Sumpless Reef aquarium. So this tank has been set up for I think about 2 weeks now. I've been putting coral into it over time from the 93-gallon, as well as I did have an order come in from Ontario, so I got a bunch of A cans, some really nice ones, and right now I have this rack set up. My plan in the future is I'm gonna put all these A-cans on some bigger discs, probably 2-inch discs, so that they can grow out and really form a nice A-can garden, kind of like what Devin at Reef Dudes has. There are also some frags of jack-o'-lantern Leptosaurus that I've moved to this tank for about a week now. So overall, I'm very happy with where the tank is at. You'll see here, I did move one of the power heads from the 93-gallon over. And that's because on the 93-gallon, I noticed that one of my power heads had failed. So I had 3, and really on this tank, what I really noticed was when I put the Euphilia in here, I was getting extremely low flow. So not very much movement. This FX6, it's really strong. However, I think the flow it provides is too narrow. And in fact, this G-bow is also, it's pretty narrow, and just judging from the way things are moving, the flow, I don't think this is gonna be sufficient for this tank. So we'll have to look into potentially an alternative in the future. I'm thinking maybe a gyre that I can set up in the top area here. So a gyre that I can set up in the top area, I think will provide sufficient flow, at least enough flow for the Euphilia to be moving. And you can see here, I've actually got a couple acrofrags in here. So while I was in Vancouver, I just happened to stop at J&L Aquatics, and they've got a lot of nice acros now. I took a video there, I think it was about 2 months ago, and their coral section is now, it's just packed. So I'm very excited about both these pieces. I wouldn't say recently, but I do have an appreciation for the deep water acros, and I really don't have very many. Like my Red Dragons one. I tried to get a Hawkins Echinata or Echinata a long time ago, and unfortunately I dipped it, and after it RTN'd, I looked online and I realized that I shouldn't have dipped it. So now that I have invert quarantine tanks, I very seldom will dip my coral. Ever since I set up the 13-gallon, I haven't. But I'm really excited about this blue tip one. I believe it is a Fire Ice Echinata. And even if it's not, its body is white and its tips are a really nice blue. And then the guy on the right is a blue Taraki. So thicker branches. I believe Echinatas have a much thinner, finer branch. And then that little Utter Chaos was a bonus on one of the Acan frags. That's Orange Chalice. So we're really happy with how these Acans are doing. When they first came in, there's definitely damage there. And the one Acan I was most concerned about, it eventually did brown jelly. So that's just one thing for you guys to keep in mind. A lot of times it will take these fleshy LPS, you know, when they're shipped to you, depending on how they're handled and how they're packed and everything, I believe they can actually sustain damage internally, and that damage may not surface until a while after the coral has been in your tank for a few days, because the first day that Acan was spitting out its guts, and then the day after it looked fine. And anyways, I'm not gonna fight over that. It's just not worth it. If that was like $100 Acan, I'd probably be much more choked. All in all, I'm just happy that these guys are okay. Other than this pink guy, so the one behind this red Acan, he's been kind of iffy, but so far at least no sign of brown jelly. So Acans are pretty resilient, and as long as internally he's repaired up, I'm sure he'll be fine. So as you can see, I've moved a lot of the LPS from the 93 gallon, and I'm going to continue to do so. And in the 93 gallon, I'm really contemplating whether I should get maybe a couple clams. I'm looking at mainly squamosa. I'm also considering I'm not sure I'm pronouncing this right, Crocia. But I'm a bit wary of Crocia clams just because my understanding is that they require some of the most light out of all the clams, and I want these guys on my sand bed. So here's the alien eye chalice. He's one of the coral that I've had for the longest time, and yeah, just color is, I think, bang on. In fact, one of the funny things is I've noticed a lot of alien eye chalices showing up recently in the stores. 3G mummy eyes again. Yeah, this guy's had no trouble growing. In fact, I understand, like, chalices, they're typically really slow growers. In my experience, this guy's one of the faster ones. And not only is he faster, but you look at his color, like, he's beautiful. This is my Hollywood Stunner. So he's been hiding in a corner in the 93 gallon. I finally moved him over, and he looks okay. So one of the things with the 93 gallon, oh, here's a new one too. So I had a pink frog spawn before. It was a wall one, and to make space, I had to sell it. So I got, I saw this guy at the store. This guy's actually a branching one. I think the colors on that wall frog spawn was much more vibrant. However, yeah, I just missed the pink. So he's back. Here's the green frog spawn that was in the 93. This guy's also a new guy. He's a like a splatter hammer. So his tips are mainly a bright green, but it's got some purple to it. So I've been looking for one of those for a long time, and finally being able to get one is cool. This is the yellow hammer that was in my tank in the 93. So he's a really good example of how flow can change the size of these guys. He was getting a lot of flow in the 93 gallon, and he was much more compact, whereas now in the 75 gallon he's not getting as much flow. And yeah, he's actually, you could tell he's a pretty big guy. And in front of him we got the purple tipped hammers that I got from Lee. And that's pretty much it, guys. I'm really sorry I didn't post a video last week. I got back late Saturday night and I had every intention of doing so, but there's just a lot I wanted to do with this tank. I've picked up some other things too. I'm going to use a auto top off in this tank. One, because I'm a pretty lazy guy, but more importantly, sometimes I do have to travel for work, and I need these systems in place. For the time being, this is an LPS tank. I think an auto top off with Kalkwasser will be sufficient to address any alkalinity or calcium needs. Maybe in the future I might have to look into getting a doser, but I'm sure I'm not there yet, and I'm not overly concerned with that. I'm just gonna, so I got an auto top off. I haven't set it up yet, but I've also got I got some new bulbs. So you're currently looking at I mean, this is corrective for white balance, but I have two ATI Blue Plus bulbs in here, as well as a ATI Coral Plus. I left one of the old bulbs in place. It's a Giesman pink, some type of pink. But what I find is I do like, with the pinks, to my eyes, it kind of brings out some of the reds and pinks a bit better. One of the things I'm really noticing with T5 lighting being mainly LEDs, like having always had LEDs, T5 lighting, it's kind of funny. On one hand, I really wanted to get it for the spread, and if you look, like, minimal shadows. In places that have shadows, they're just dimmer, but really there's really good coverage in here, so I'm very happy with that. However, T5 lighting, it's missing that pop that I'm really used to with LEDs. So, and that really explains, I've been to other people's houses where they just use T5s, and the coral just, to me, look really kind of dull. And that's what I'm kind of seeing here. To the naked eye, to my eyes, things just don't look as bright. And in fact, when these lights turn off and the lights on the 93 gallon are still on, then I can really see a lot of fluorescence coming from certain coral. So I really like to get that in this tank, and I think what I'll do is I'm gonna add some LED, a strip of LEDs here. I know everyone's into reef brights, but I know there are some other companies, at least in Canada, that I might look into. What's the other thing? So yes, I think I do need more flow. In the 93 gallon, its dimensions are actually more forgiving. You don't need as strong of a power heads to move the water over 2.5 feet compared to 4 feet. So that's one of the things I think I'm missing. Lighting wise, I'm happy with the coverage, and the coral are all really happy now. Most of these guys are low light coral, so they don't need too much light, especially the acans, the chalices. This T5 lighting is actually perfect for them. And yeah, so the T5 lighting is perfect for these guys. Like even the acros, at least for the time being, they've been in this tank for a week. And look at them. They're looking great. Yeah, I'm actually using this as kind of my quarantine tank right now. And I'm gonna make sure that these coral sit in here for 45 days. I've only got one more shipment that's gonna come in maybe in a month or two. And that's got my, to me, the holy grail chalice that I really want in this tank. It's also got another chalice that I've been looking for a really long time. And what else does it have? Yeah, some, I would say, ultra blastos, although a lot of these blastos I've seen online are very nice. And I forget what the last thing is, but yeah, I'm really looking forward to that shipment too. But other than that, as you can see, I think this tank is pretty much done. In terms of Euphilia, once these guys grow out, I mean, this is going to look phenomenal. Here's a sad little Duncan. He was also in a corner in my tank, and he looked really sad for about a month. As you can see, he's not the most attractive Duncan. And yeah, I'm not sure what I'm going to do with him. He was one of my first guys. And he's grown a few more heads since I got him. What's the last thing? Oh, so I haven't actually used ProToBio yet in this tank. I will be. I guess the important thing I wanted to do was to make sure at least there were some nutrients in this tank. And I do see there is some algae growing on the glass, which to me is a great sign. So I think maybe I'm going to leave it for one more week, and then I'm going to start up the protein skimmer and do the ProToBio. And because there's really no like bio load in this tank, at least until I get some fish in here, you know, I am feeding these guys about every 4 days. I'm doing reefroids, but because this tank is not going to be getting as much nutrients, at least for the first, I would say, 3 months, I'm not going to use the ProToBio every 2 weeks like they suggest. I'm probably going to go about a month. And we'll go from there. But other than that, guys, like, this tank's been out for 2 weeks. When I say up for 2 weeks, I mean it was filled with water 2 weeks ago. Can you experience long-term success from this? Well, the 93 gallon was pretty much the same thing. I got my first coral before my tank was full. It was half done, and I had to have coral because I'm an impatient guy. So I went down there before the tank was even full. And yeah, for the most part, everything survived. The only thing I've lost is actually I've lost two things. I lost a small frag plug of zoas, and I believe that was from actually a lack of nutrients, nitrates and phosphates, which is why I have this protein skimmer off at this time, and I am feeding the tank, and I'd rather see the algae than not have enough nutrients in here and having the coral suffer. And the second one I lost was, I believe, before I even put it into the tank. It was a red dragon frag, and it was out of water. it was in a styrofoam container without a heat pack for 2 days. And looking back on it now, after more experience with acros, I'm almost 100% sure it was dead before I had even put it in the water. So yeah, if you guys have any questions, just ask. Does the seeding help? I'm sure part of the success is because I had moved one of the rocks from one of my quarantine tanks over to this tank. However, in my experience, in my research, coral do not have any type of negative impact from ammonia that the fish would have. At least that's in my experience. And you know what? The 93 gallon, there was a ton of water, so even if there was any issues with ammonia, there's probably not enough to cause any coral deaths. Alright guys, so thanks a lot for watching. Let me know if you have any questions. Again, there's no sump in this tank. The only thing it does have is it does have a canister filter. So I'll show you guys right here. That's a Fluval FX6 that I was using on my freshwater tank. And the whole reason I have this is primarily because I wanted it for flow. Because I want to keep this tank as cost effective as possible. Now, unfortunately, I've already added a power head because it's not enough flow. It's not able to, I wouldn't say not enough flow, but the type of flow that I'm looking for. Because I want these guys to be swaying. And right now you can see, yes, they are swaying, but this poor Duncan, it's barely moving. So I will have to address this probably down the road. For right now, I think everyone's doing okay. Okay, and I don't think this frag rack's going to stay there too long. I only set it up because I just wanted a place to put my coral, and when I have time, I'm going to lay them out properly onto the bare bottom and they can go from there. Okay, thumbs up if you liked it, subs if you loved it. I will see you guys next time.